But there are two questions in here that I've heard people in the room when I came in that I was asked questions and wanted to answer. Can I ask the question and each one of you give the answer, then go to the next one, and any rebuttals you could choose to rebut in your closing remarks. Would that be acceptable?
Sure.
To the party? If it's not.
See, if we want to get to, why don't we just give each candidate 30 seconds to respond and 30 seconds to rebut?
Okay. Then, okay. Forsyth County is struggling with a significant budget deficit for 2010, and a similar deficit is projected for 2011. How do you propose to balance the budget? And that first question will go to Mr. Harrell.
30 seconds, huh? Wow. We spent almost a year on this. The 2010 budget is $79 million. The only trouble that we see in that is the sheriff's budget. Love the sheriff, but that's the kind of thing we deal with. As far as 2011, we have a budget process. We're working our way through that. You can either cut services, raise taxes. There are the options that the commissioners will work their way through, but ultimately it's negotiating good deals, and I'm out of time.
Thank you. Okay, and then I'm going to come down to Mr. Scholl and then go back. Mr. Scholl, do you need me to repeat?
No. This is very difficult to answer in 30 seconds, so I'm going to talk fast. What we need to do is make sure that we implement what I talked about earlier, the fiscal discipline. We need to make sure that the expenditures do not exceed revenues. And we cannot justify increased taxes without tightening the belts. We don't do that in business. We don't do that with our own home budgets. We need to make sure that our expenditures are less than revenue.
Thank you. Mr. Levent?
When doing your budget, it's state law that you always fund public safety first. So it wouldn't be the sheriff's at fault at that point. You'd find your other departments aren't as necessary to fund, would be the ones that got short. Building, zoning, they're down 60–70% right now, but instead of doing 10% across the board, you look at each department at its own and you cut it accordingly to what their needs are. It takes a little bit more work, but that's how you need to do it. The SPLOST split, if we did it correctly, we'd have an extra $8 million in our pockets. That takes that $13.3 million down to a lot less money. I'm tired.
Mr. Venko?
First thing is accountability to the department heads. You can't submit inflated budgets right off the bat. It's a waste of time. So you really got to hold the department heads, which is management for those departments, accountable for what they submit immediately. Yes, there is also options as far as looking at that split as far as SPLOST goes, and it's absolutely something that I would be looking at. But again, philosophically speaking, we got to embed this behavior into the department heads, so this way they understand right out of the gate what our expectations are.
Like to rebut?
Oh, we're going to do a rebuttal on this? Okay.
Very quickly, 30 seconds.
All right. We have cut $25 million from the 2008 budget. The county manager says if we cut any deeper, we will have service degradation. Y'all take a look at that. SPLOST dollars cannot be used for general fund. So the SPLOST 7 is not going to help the general fund problem.
Would you like to have a rebuttal, Mr. Scholl?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much. We have cut. I would say we have not done a sufficient job of cutting the bureaucracy. And Mr. Harrell voted, and he's on record many times, for wanting to balance the budget with the money in the reserves. I think he said he was the lone ranger in that. And now we are down to, I believe it's 45 days in our county reserves. That is not a way, and I believe our bond rating may be in jeopardy.
I believe Mr. Venko would be this time, and then Mr. Levent. Yeah.
Oh, let me get this on, okay.
There were. It's too many of you.
That's right. It was easier with two, wasn't it? Again, listen. Budgets. Okay.
Really
Top line revenue. That middle section called costs, and then whether you finish black or red. Okay. It's that focus on that middle section. It's how you break it down. It's 20 years of the experience that I've had to do that, being held accountable for it. And you also have to come up with thinking of out-of-the-box solutions, including, sometimes some of these functions, you might have outsourced it and due to third parties in order to come up with a balanced budget. You got to think about the different options, and you have to have out-of-the-box approach.
And Mr. Levent?
I'm not for raising taxes and punishing the citizens because it was reckless spending. It just doesn't seem fair. The people in charge now should have been much more responsible with our money and should have treated it in a much more respectful manner. We wouldn't be having this discussion right now. Even if the economy is slow, there's other municipalities and governments that are not in trouble financially. However, I think you're going to find that our taxes are going to be raised by the present board, and it probably won't even hit anybody that's elected this time. However, when the money comes back, I would vote for lowering it back if possible.